Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
We are set for Cactus League Baseball from Scottsdale in front of a full house for the D-backs and the Chicago Cubs. Arizona Diamondbacks Spring Training Baseball brought to you by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. It's the D-backs on Fox Sports Arizona. Good afternoon from Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly along the way. Big crowd with us today for the Diamondbacks, and Bob, they'll see Taijuan Walker make his second start this spring.
Yeah, looking forward to another season from Taijuan Walker here in Arizona. Last season a 9-9 record. I'm sure he would like to improve upon that, but the good news is he had a career low ERA, a career low opponent's batting average, so you'd like to see more of that this year, maybe a few more wins.
Terrific pitching matchup today. Cubs unbeaten in their last 8 spring games, and John Lester's on the mound for Chicago.
As he will be on opening day for the Cubs, his third opening day start for Chicago. This guy is a workhorse. 10 consecutive years of 30 or more starts. That's the very definition of an ace at the top of the rotation.
Good lineup for both teams. A lot of regulars in there for the D-backs and the Cubs. First pitch coming up on Fox Sports Arizona. D-backs baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. By Ram Trucks. It's Ram Truck Month. Hurry in for a great deal or visit ramtrucks.com. By the first ever Innings Festival, a spring training celebration in Tempe, March 23rd through the 25th. By Taco Bell, try the new $1 nacho fries here for a limited time. And by your Valley Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. By Sanderson Ford, the best play is at Sanderson Ford. By Tire Pros, everything rotates around you. By Gila River Hotels and Casinos, the card earns you rewards 10 times faster than ever before. Sign up for the card today. By White Claw Hard Seltzer, the purest hard seltzer in the world. And by Subaru, visit your local Subaru retailer to learn more about the Subaru Forever. Versatility that inspires. Packed house here at Scottsdale. Taijuan Walker and the Diamondbacks hosting John Lester and the Cubs. And the first pitch is next on Fox Sports Arizona.
That's easy enough, yeah.
'65 and sunny. Boy, oh boy. What? No, Mossy got it, right? Back at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. Little cool, that cool weather hanging around another day or two. 65 degrees, nice and sunny. A little cloud cover overhead, not too bad. So a nice day for baseball. The Diamondbacks and the Chicago Cubs. As we roll along in Cactus League play, our second D-backs spring telecast for you here on Fox Sports Arizona. Always a good day for baseball, baby.
Always a good day for baseball. Some clouds this morning, but the sun has broken through, along with the Cub fans who have filed in here to Salt River Fields this afternoon. Should be a great day for a ball game.
They brought some of their regulars over. No Chris Bryant, no Anthony Rizzo, but here's the lineup for Joe Maddon's ball club today.
Jason Hayward will lead it off out in right field, followed by Javier Baez at second base. Wilson Contreras doing the catching this afternoon. Addison Russell cleaning up at shortstop. Efrain Navarro, the first baseman. Albert Almora Jr. will be out in center field. Chris Jimenez will serve as the DH today with Jason Vossler at third base. Pete Borges out in left field, and the left-hander John Lester on the mound for the Cubs.
And another opening day start coming up for John Lester in Chicago. Here's a look, as always, a lot of Cubs fans over here from Mesa, just down the highway, the 101, the 202, the whole thing, from Sloan Park. And so we've got a packed house in Scottsdale this afternoon as the Diamondbacks take the field. And your Ram truck starter for the D-backs is the big right-hander Taijuan Walker. Last year, 9-9 in 28 starts. His first season with the D-backs after coming over from Seattle.
Second spring training start for Taijuan Walker. He opposed the Giants back on the 27th of February. Went an inning in that ball game. Gave up a couple of hits and a run. Did strike out 2 batters.
Let's take a look at the Diamondbacks defensively. A lot of the regulars in there this afternoon. Good lineup.
Yeah, very representative lineup today. David Peralta will be out in left field. A.J. Pollock in center. Yasmani Tomas slides over to right field for today's ball game. Jake Lamb and Nick Ahmed will man the left side of the infield with Daniel Descalso and Paul Goldschmidt on the right side. Alex Avila behind the plate, and the big right-hander Taijuan Walker on the mound. And Jeff Mathis, we should point out, serving as a designated hitter this afternoon.
Ryan Blakeney back there calling the balls and strikes with the umpires here today. We're just about set to go, but first, Bob, it's time for a look at the rest of the umpires. Jeff Nelson, Adrian Johnson, and Shane Livensparker. Blakeney will have the plate all afternoon. The bases umpires will rotate as they often do during spring training. Now it's time for your Valley Honda dealers key to the game.
Yeah, it's always time for this key to the game. Let's score some runs. The Diamondbacks known as very much an offensive ball club, and lately they've been having trouble getting guys on the plate, so this would be a great day to bust out against the veteran John Lester.
Yeah, the D-backs have lost 5 straight Cactus League games, and they've been outscored 58-28 along the way. So let's score some runs.
Yeah.
Time to get that offense going, and they've got the lineup in there today to get that done.
For those fans who aren't real familiar with spring training baseball, you'll see the regulars in there probably for 2, maybe 3 at-bats in a ball game like today, and then they'll go get their work in somewhere in the clubhouse or on a backfield. Early in spring, the regulars usually get 1 at bat and then head on home, but as you get deeper into spring training, you start to stretch out your regulars.
And the defense shades over a bit for Jason Hayward, the right fielder, who leads it off for Chicago. Jake Lamb has his toes in on the grass at third, and there's strike 1. We're underway. Hayward beginning his 3rd season with the Cubs. You saw the numbers last year, 259 and 11 homers. That's on a play, and quickly it's 0-2. Hayward off to a 1-for-8 start to the spring.
Not a lot of questions on this Cubs roster going into the 2018 season, but one of the questions is who's going to lead off, and that may be a rotating door for Joe Madden this year, but Jason Hayward certainly among those guys that will find themselves in the leadoff spot.
Lined right to Jake Lamb at third. One down for Taijuan Walker. Yeah, Albert Almora Jr. might be another candidate. He's in center field and batting sixth today. Where Anthony Rizzo led off for them for a while last year in an effort to get him going.
Didn't Kyle Schwarber lead off a few times? Yeah, just trying to find a way to jumpstart that offense last year.
Joe Madden has a very deep bag of tricks. Javier Baez, 273 last year, career high 23 home runs. Fastball's a strike and it's 0-1. This is just the second start of the spring for Taijuan Walker. We saw him last Tuesday across town at Scottsdale Stadium against the Giants. He worked only one inning in that ball game. Gave up a run on 2 hits. He struck out 2 and threw only 10 pitches. What were your impressions, Bob, given a full season's look at Taijuan Walker last year?
Well, first of all, he's a very imposing figure out there on the mound. I've forgotten how big he is, but he actually looms over everybody on the diamond standing on top of that pitcher's mound. For me, his stuff plays really well. I think at times maybe he didn't compete as hard as he possibly could. Maybe let some adversity bother him from time to time as he punches out Baez right there. You just like to see him take that next step. When you get in trouble, find an extra gear. Find something to reach back and get those hitters out when you find yourself in trouble. And I think there were times last year that Taijuan wasn't able to do that.
Wilson Contreras, the Cubs catcher now. 276, 21 home runs last year. His first full season in the big leagues.
When you think about it, we changed the home plate slide, bowling over the catcher. Changed that rule. They called it the Buster Posey rule. You change the rule, breaking up double plays. They called that the Chase Utley rule.
Right.
Well, the
I see where you're going
mound
here.
visits this year might as well be called the Wilson Contreras rule.
Yeah, a 4.5-hour, 9-inning postseason game. That's when it just became too much. The king of the mound visit, Wilson Contreras. He's ahead 2 balls and no strikes.
He spent more time on the mound than some of the relievers out of the Cubs bullpen.
And you know, even for baseball fans, it was hard to watch.
It was.
There was a few moments during the postseason last October where I was yelling at the TV, just get back there and let's go.
Yeah, and I'm a former catcher, and I understand that there are junctures in the game where as a catcher you feel the need to go out there and either settle your pitcher down or fire him up, whatever the case may be. But it usually doesn't happen after every pitch.
It seemed to with Wilson Contreras. Madison Russell, the shortstop, batting cleanup today, would be next. Taijuan behind 3 balls and 1 strike. Well, 6 mound visits. That's the new rule. We'll see how this goes.
Now, this is definitely not what you want in spring training. Actually fouls that ball off his right foot, his back foot. Limps over into the on-deck circle, continues to limp around, trying to get some feeling back in that right foot. Well, in lieu of a trip to the mound, he's going to slow the game down here.
Well, not on purpose anyway. Conversation with Alex Avila, his teammate last year. Avila was brought on by the Cubs at the trade deadline last year. Contreras missed some time in August with a right hamstring strain, and Alex was the Cubs' primary catcher there for a while. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Taijuan Walker. Diamondbacks coming up. Underway in Scottsdale. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. Diamondbacks set to bat in the bottom of the first inning. Against your Ram truck starter for the Cubs, it's the lefty Jon Lester. Now 34 years old, beginning his 4th season in Chicago. Last year, 13-8. And a 4.33 ERA. That was Lester's highest since 2012.
As good as Jon Lester has been throughout his career, Joe Madden was telling me in the dugout before the game today, he thinks Jon Lester has taken it to a new level. There's no John Lackey around this year. There's no David Ross around this year. Guys that kind of insulated Jon Lester. And he's out there on an island right now. And Joe Madden says he has responded extremely well here this spring to being the man at the top of that rotation.
David Peralta will lead it off for the D-backs, the left fielder today. Been a hot start to the spring for David. He's 5 for 9 at the plate.
What are you waiting for?
A couple of hits here Friday against the Rockies. There's ball one. Peralta last year, 293, 14 homers. Good to have him healthy last season. Had career highs in hits, doubles, and runs scored. Check swing foul, and it's 1-1. Let's take a look at Torey Lovullo's lineup here this afternoon.
Yeah, David Peralta at the plate right now, leading it off out in left field. A.J. Pollock will bat second in center. Paul Goldschmidt down at first base. Jake Lamb cleaning up at third. Yasmani Tomas will be out in right field with Alex Avila behind the plate. Daniel Descalso at second base.
This is slammed to center. Almora backs up. Albert Almora Jr. out there. One away.
And Nick Ahmed will be at short, and Jeff Mathis serving as the DH. Here's how the Cubs are going to line them up defensively this afternoon. Pete Borges in left field, Albert Almora Jr. in center, Jason Hayward over in right. It will be Vosler, Russell, Baez, and Navarro third to first across the infield, with Wilson Contreras behind the plate for lefty Jon Lester.
Center fielder A.J. Pollock. Last year, 266, 14 homers. 20 stolen bases as well for A.J. A.J. was in center field here Friday in the game against Colorado. Had a pair of hits and an RBI. This is the first game this spring, really, Bob, where you look at the lineup that Torey's got in there and you think, boy, this looks like a pretty good offensive ball club the Diamondbacks could put together this year if everybody's healthy. Peralta, Pollock, Goldie, Lamb, Tomas, Avila.
And what you just said a moment ago, that's probably the most used word in any spring training. Health.
Gotta stay healthy.
Gotta stay healthy. If we stay healthy.
0-2 misses. I think it's especially important for the Diamondbacks with these first two guys we've seen. They are a different team with a full season of David Peralta and a full season of A.J. Pollock.
No doubt about it.
And of course, it doesn't hurt to have that guy play 155 or so. Little pop-up shallow right center. Almora will take care of that quickly. 2 down. Here's Goldie.
You mentioned Goldie being in 150, 155, which is what we're accustomed to, sometimes even more than that. But Torey Lovullo, once again, like every other manager that's had Paul Goldschmidt, is going to try to get him on that bench a little more frequently, use him late in the game as a pinch hitter if necessary, but just try to keep Goldie at his best for 162 games.
And those numbers are a big reason why. 36 homers, matched his career high. And that's a mantra we hear in spring training, as you joked, every year.
Every year.
Chip Hale had boy, he was going to do it, man. He was determined, and then it just never kind of works out. It's hard to leave 44 out of the lineup when you're trying to win. Torey and the whole front office are really committed to a plan of resting guys, and Torey did stick with that for the most part last year, getting guys extra off days here and there, and they really believe it paid off toward the end of the year. Goldie hammers one high in the air, headed toward the D-back bullpen and way over the D-back bullpen on the concourse out there.
We set that one up into the offices.
Goldie 4 for 7 at the plate to start his spring. Hit his first Cactus League home run here last Monday in a win over Colorado. He's down a ball and 2 strikes. Jake Lamb on deck. This is John Lester's second start this spring. Lester pitched last Tuesday against the White Sox, won 1 2/3. Gave up a hit, a run. He walked 2 and had 3 strikeouts through 26 pitches. The Cubs opening day starter this year. There's the skipper. And a bunch of brand new coaches over there in the Cub dugout. They made some changes. Dave Martinez, his longtime bench coach, now the manager in Washington. And his former pitching coach in Tampa Bay, Jim Hickey, is the pitching coach now for the Cubs.
A couple of coaches came over from the Boston Red Sox. Former Diamondback third base coach Brian Butterfield, as well as hitting instructor Chili Davis, former teammate of mine.
So a new staff, new look to the staff in Chicago. Full count on Goldie, 3-2. 2-out walk, and we'll see Jake Lamb in the first inning.
Yeah, it kind of goes unnoticed most of the time, but that's what makes Goldie so good. It looked like it was going to be a quick inning here for John Lester in the first inning. Couple of lazy fly balls into center field, and then Goldie grinds out a long at bat, makes solid contact on a long foul home run, and ends up drawing a base on balls to continue the inning and keep the pressure on John Lester.
The all-star numbers for Jake Lamb last year, career highs with those 30 homers and 105 RBIs. Goldschmidt at first, 2 outs. Jake had a grand slam here in Friday's loss to the Rockies, his first home run this spring. As you mentioned, it'd be nice to see the Diamondbacks score some runs. They lost over in Glendale yesterday at Camelback Ranch. Dodgers beat them 14-6 as Robbie Ray had a rough first inning. Time for the D-back to start doing some damage here.
Get it going. You know, there are certain at-bats in spring training that the staff keeps a closer eye on than maybe some of the other at-bats. And I think anytime Jake Lamb faces a left-handed pitcher in the Cactus League, everybody's going to pay very close attention to his approach. And we know Jake has struggled the last couple of years against left-handed starting pitching. Numbers way down, and that's something Torlavello and his staff, Dave Magadan, the hitting coach, are going to try to remedy this year and make him a more effective hitter against lefties.
The hope is that a renewed commitment to the opposite field approach will help Jake against some left-handers. Going to left center field and doing that with power, that's what he believes is the key. After he hit 144 against left-handers last year. 2 balls, 2 strikes. As Manny Tomas off to a very good start this spring. Would be next. Just inside, and it's full 3-2. So Lester will throw his 20th pitch in this first inning.
John Lester in mid-season form, trying to work the umpires behind the plate here in the first inning. Tried to walk off the mound after that pitch just off the inside corner.
Goldie takes off from first, check swing foul. Efren Navarro playing behind the runner down there. Jake Lamb will take his walks and on-base percentage last year just under .360. In fact, Jake was 6th in the National League in walks. So he can certainly be a patient hitter up there if need be. Goldie off with the pitch one more time, and another foul ball. Another 3-2 pitch. Foul ball.
Well, we know it's always good to hit in the Cactus League. The ball carries extremely well down here in the desert. And a little addition today, wind blowing slightly out to right center field, which should help the left-handed pull hitters and the righties that go the opposite way.
Well, Lester was very efficient to begin the ball game. 7 pitches to the first 2 batters. And 7 pitches to Goldschmidt. Now 8 to Jake Lamb. Holding off for the pitch one more time. That misses inside. It's back-to-back 2-out walks to bring up Yasmani Tomas. El Tanque, Yasmani Tomas. 3 for 3 with a double in the loss to the Dodgers yesterday. His numbers in only 47 games last year. Holding at second, Lamb at first, 2 outs. Yasmani, as we've seen so often and again this spring, very aggressive early in the count. Lays off that one and takes strike 1.
That's a good take, though. That's a pitcher's pitch right there. Knees at the outside corner. Not much you can do with that pitch anyway, but it is a little surprising to see Yasmani take a first pitch.
Dave Maggott and the hitting coach will be pleased, I'm sure. Yasmani says now physically he's fine, he's healthy, and he's ready to show what he can do when he's healthy after a couple of core surgeries last year. Did not play a game last season after June the 2nd. Pops this one straight up in the air. High sky. Baez has it, and Lester strands 2. We are through 1 in Scottsdale. No score. The Cubs and the D-backs. Celebrate with a series of events starting with opening weekend against the Rockies, March 29th through the 31st. And the first 20,000 fans with us Saturday, March 31st will take home this 1998 replica jersey courtesy of Chase. Visit dbacks.com/20. As we get ready to start season number 21, Addison Russell, the shortstop, leads off the Chicago second against Taijuan Walker. Russell, a .239 hitter last year, 12 homers. He's 2 for 9 at the plate to begin his spring. Maybe we got to welcome our newest D-backs fan, Remy DeClercq, born this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, already watching this one.
Nice.
7 pounds, 9 ounces. So congratulations to Amanda and Brandon. And we welcome Remy DeClercq into the D-backs family.
Always room for one more D-backs fan.
A lot of them here today. On the ground to shortstop. Nick Ahmed bobbles it and can't recover. Russell is aboard to start the second.
That's my fault. I was next door in the Cubs radio booth talking to Pat Hughes before the game, and he was asking me about Nick, and I said he is one of the best defenders I've ever seen at shortstop. And of course the first ball hit to him, he boots it.
Nice going.
Yeah, kind of got him up on the heel of the glove, just couldn't field it cleanly.
E6. Russell aboard. Here's Efren Navarro playing first base today. Navarro, 230, couple of homers and a handful of games with the Tigers last year. Signed as a non-roster player by the Cubs at the end of January.
I'm not sure where he fits into the big picture for the Chicago Cubs, but Navarro's a guy that Joe Madden likes a lot. He said he's a very intelligent player. He's a tremendous defender down at first base, swings the bat well from the left side of the plate, but kind of have that first base position already settled, so it's going to be tough for Navarro to break through on this Cubs roster this year.
Anthony Rizzo not here today, nor is Chris Bryant. Swing and a miss. Taiwan ahead 0-2.
I've had a special interest in Efren Navarro's career. He played first base for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas running Rebels when my son Michael was catching for the team. He was a great hitter in college, continues to be a good hitter in the professional level.
Navarro was a 50th round pick on a UNLV back in the 07 draft. Spent his first few seasons with the Angels.
Had him leaning, but Russell quick enough, even though he was leaning towards second base, to dive back in underneath the tag at first. That's one thing you see more of in spring training than you do during the regular season. I think teams are a little more aggressive on the bases. They don't really mind if they make outs to take them out of an inning, but they want to see who can get a jump and steal a base.
And there goes Russell. Sure enough, that one's fouled back. Well, we saw last year, the first 2 months of the season or so, the Diamondbacks were very aggressive on the bases, then pulled back just a little bit, as Torrey told us teams would often be counter-punching their running game on the bases. So good to set the tone in the spring for that type of aggression.
Well, it changes some things defensively. If you're playing against a ball club that has a reputation of being an aggressive base running team, they'll hit and run, they'll steal, they'll double steal. It changes the way you pitch to hitters. It changes the way you set your defense. So even though the Diamondbacks didn't run a lot after the initial 2 months of the season, other teams were still aware of it and changed their defense, changed their pitch calling, occasionally changed the way they held runners on base. So even though they weren't stealing a lot of bases, it still changed the game.
0-2 is fouled away, and the Diamondbacks have added a big weapon in that regard, signing Gerard Dyson to a 2-year contract. And we anticipate we'll chat with Gerard Dyson coming up in the next half inning or so. And he can really fly. You want to see speed on the bases. Where do you see Gerard Dyson run? Still 0-2. Russell holds this time, and Navarro strikes out. Third strikeout for Taiwan Walker.
Good off-speed pitch that time from Taiwan Walker, fading down low and away from the left-handed hitter. It's Navarro to swing right over the top. Good secondary weapon for Taiwan Walker out there on the mound.
Albert Almora Jr., the center fielder. Last year, 298, 8 home runs. He is still looking for his first Cactus League hit this spring. He's 0 for 10. Taiwan, for a big guy, has got a pretty good move over there.
He's a very athletic guy. Pickoff move is not all about how hard you throw the ball over there to first base. Most of the time it's about how quick your feet are. How quickly can you get your body turned and make that throw to first base. And in that respect, Taiwan, for a big guy, is really quick.
Breaking balls in there for a strike. 0-1. Taijuan Walker is still only 25 years old. He'll be 26 in August. Russell bluffs and holds. This is on the ground to Ahmed. Descalso for a 1, and they roll it. Double play ball for Walker. Bottom 2 coming up. Dugout by one of the newest D-backs, Gerard Dyson, who is standing over there because we want you, Gerard, on your feet.
No, man,
because
I'm trying to get off my feet, man. I got a big day tomorrow.
That speed. We want to see that speed.
You can't see it standing up.
Welcome to the Diamondbacks. What's been your impression so far?
Man, I'm just glad to be on board with these guys, man. It's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of energy in the dugouts and the clubhouse, and I'm glad to be on board.
You are a guy who has averaged just over 30 stolen bases a year the last 6 years. Is that the biggest part of your game? What can D-backs fans expect to see from Gerard Dyson?
A lot of speed, some great defense, some good offense, all-around game this year.
Hey, Gerard, I wanted to ask you, we read the report that when you came to camp, one of the first guys to come up to you was Dave McKay, the first base coach, the base running instructor. He wanted to get in your head right away. How did that go?
Right away. He come in there, he let me know what he know. And he just went to talking about baseball and base running, and that's my game, so I'm all for it. You know, anything he got to say, I'm going to listen.
I know you had Rusty Kuntz in Kansas City, but Gerard, Dave McKay is a mad scientist.
Yeah, both of them good, man. It's a pleasure to work with Rusty. It's going to be a pleasure to work with McKay, too, man. I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
When he sits down with you and gets that iPad out and he shows you the stuff he's got on this guy's move, and then watch this guy's elbow, his hip, his foot, it's unbelievable.
Yes, it is, man. It's just amazing the keys that you pull out on these pitchers, man, nowadays. It's just amazing. I'm glad they got all this technology out here today, making it a lot easier.
Hey, Gerard, I wanted to ask you, now when you were playing with the Royals, it says here that when you would catch the final out of a win, you did some backflips. James Shields was your teammate, kind of prodded you into doing it. Are we going to see any of that this year?
Oh, no, I like to say the backflips and the little zoom thing for October baseball.
There you go.
So I'm looking forward to playing October baseball, so you guys will get a good glimpse of it.
You know all about that. Some World Series with Kansas City. What was that experience like last few years with the Royals?
Man, it's hard to put in words. I mean, best years of my life. I mean, going in the playoffs, man, to see how the city turn around and how the fans come out and cheer you on through practice and everywhere on the road, man, it's amazing. It's something special, you know, that I always live with me, and I'm going to remember all the memories.
Yeah, we had a chance to be in Kansas City to end the season last year, and, you know, a lot of free agents, a lot of guys that were probably going to be going elsewhere. That was quite a weekend series in Kansas City. Saying goodbye to all those guys who had been the core, yourself included.
Yeah, man, it was something special. You know, Dayton did a great job with that group. I mean, ever since he got over there in '07, I mean, it was a great job, man. To see the struggle, then, you know, have success, it's pretty amazing to see how things turned around for us.
And last year, Gerard, one season in Seattle with the Mariners. You missed most of September with that sports hernia injury. How you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go, man. Oh,
Nick
big
Ahmed's
ball,
ready to
big
go.
blast.
There you go.
See what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Action, baby. Love action.
Nick Ahmed, a home run off John Lester, and the Diamondbacks take a 1-0 lead. Your good luck.
Thank you, man. Can't wait.
All right, we're going to go on that note with Gerard. Gerard, thanks very much. Find a seat. We appreciate it.
All right, next time you guys have me a seat, all right?
All right.
All right, y'all take care.
We'll talk to our people. Nick Ahmed takes John Lester deep.
Yeah, Nick started to show a little more power last year when he got himself into good hitters counts. He'd look for a pitch from the middle of the plate in and put a good aggressive power swing on it. He drove that one about halfway up the bank in left field.
And that's a good example of why oftentimes we would see Nick batting at the top of the order, near the top of the order, against a left-hand starter last year before he got hurt. Jeff Mathis, the DH. Here's another look.
Looked like the pitch was down in the zone a little bit, really went down to get it and golfed it out of here to left field. You know, you think back to last season for Nick, and in the history of his career, everybody's always said, geez, if he could just hit 250, if he could just hit 250, he'd be a great everyday shortstop. Well, he was on his way to doing that last year before the injuries.
Yeah, 251, 6 homers before he got hit and hurt himself. Mathis strikes out. That's the end of the second. Nick Ahmed, solo shot, makes it 1-0 D-backs. The year against the Rockies. Coverage begins at 5 o'clock, a special 2-hour D-backs live pregame show. Only on Fox Sports Arizona and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Taijuan Walker now with a 1-0 lead. He's got 3 strikeouts through 2 innings, and Chris Jimenez, the DH, leads off the third for the Cubs. Jimenez signed with the Cubs in January last year with the Minnesota Twins. 220 and 7 homers. He's already got 7 RBIs this spring trying to make the ball club. Quickly it's 0-2. We're talking about that start date. Seems awfully early. But Major League Baseball's worked in more off days for the players, so they start the season a little early this year. March 29th. This year is the first time actually since 1968 that every Major League team plays its season opener on the same day. I think that's kind of nice. This is the first year under the new scheduling format, part of the basic agreement between the Players Union and Major League Baseball. March 29th, the earliest opening day in big league history outside of some of the international games. They get 4 strikeouts for Taijuan Walker, 1 down.
For a long time, historically, the opening day was always in Cincinnati, and it was always a day game. And then the rest of the schedule would crank up the next day or the following day, but that's all changed.
All the TV. That was a nice tradition that the Reds had. Jason Vossler, the third baseman for Chicago. There's a breaking ball for strike. Vossler, a .241 hitter at Double-A Tennessee last year, had 21 homers. The third baseman for the Smokies. Not great to be a third baseman in the Cubs minor league system, I wouldn't think.
Third and first base, pretty much blocked. It's, you know, it happens in this game. A lot of times good players never really get the opportunity to show what they can do because they're blocked by an all-star at their position at the major league level. The best you can hope for is possibly get traded to an organization that does have an opening at your position.
Yeah, Vossler in the Southern League last year had 81 RBIs in just under 130 games. The 16th round pick out of Northeastern in Boston. Don't see a lot of baseball players from Northeastern. They turn out hockey players. Just won the Beanpot this year. Slow tapper to shortstop for Ahmed.
Taiwan really utilizing that breaking ball here in this inning. Threw one for a called strike to Jimenez before punching him out. Got Vossler to take one for a called strike. And then eventually grounds out on another breaking ball.
Taiwan has set down 4 in a row since the Nick Ahmed error in the second. Here's Peter Borges. .223 hitter in Tampa Bay last year with 5 homers. Trying to win an outfield job in Chicago now. Just signed with the Cubs about 2 weeks ago.
Pride of Notre Dame Prep in North Scottsdale.
The Cubs would be Borges' 4th team in 4 years. Spent a while in Anaheim, was in St. Louis a couple of years. Philadelphia, now here with the Cubs.
We were talking to Gerard Dyson, and Peter Borges kind of out of the same mold as far as just a general player. Relies heavily on his speed, a tremendous defensive outfielder. He's had a little problem with the bat, consistently making contact and getting on base so he could use that speed.
Right back to the mound. Taiwan Walker is there. 4 strikeouts through 3 scoreless innings. It's 1-0 defense. Inning. Don't forget you can watch 159 regular season games this year on Fox Sports Arizona. Stream all the games live on Fox Sports Go. or go to the ballpark. Secure the best seats for the D-backs 20th anniversary season with a D-backs ticket plan. You can choose from a mini plan, a weekend, series, half, go all in, the whole thing, full season tickets. Visit dbacks.com. David Peralta, the leadoff man, leads off the third. How's the parking out there?
It's insane.
Mark Grace has joined
insane.
us.
It must be Sunday and the Cubs are here because it is packed out there.
Gracie in the booth with us now. Just managed to get up here. It's a huge crowd here this afternoon.
It is. It's another beautiful day out here. How are you guys?
Doing well, yeah.
I haven't done this in a while, so just be easy on me here.
Please.
You're a natural.
And I thought you had your own parking spot out there next to
Yeah,
Hazen and
that's an oversight.
You know what? I used to.
Yeah.
But then that's what happens when you get fired, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, you lose. That's one of the things you lose.
Oh, I know
you
that
lose your
feeling.
parking spot. so you feel me, Bob?
Not only did they take my parking space, they took my car.
Yeah, he was taking the bus in here for a while.
Oh man. At least we can laugh at
That's
ourselves,
right.
you know.
That's what spring training's all about,
That's
Grace.
exactly
I
right.
know you were one of those guys that was in the ballpark with your uniform on at 6 in the morning just to stir it up a little bit.
Just to stir it up.
Have some fun before breakfast, before the workday.
1-2 on David Peralta. John Lester out there for his third inning of work. Knocks that one down, recovers,
This could go
and
anywhere.
spikes it into the ground. It rolls away from Navarro at first, and Peralta's in at second base. That is the big bugaboo with John Lester. Throws from the mound over to first base. For whatever reason, he just can't do it.
Wow. That was Matt Garza-like. Picks up the bunt, does a nice job of knocking down that ball, and then just spikes a two-hopper over to Navarro at first base and gets away, putting Peralta on second base.
You know, a guy like that that's had throwing issues from the mound, he won't even pick off because he'll throw it in the fourth row. Did it look like to you right there, Bob, that he intentionally tried to spike that ball?
I'd like to think so.
But
I'd hate to
probably
think that
not,
a major
huh?
league pitcher did that unintentionally.
Well, you saw him for a long time in Boston, too, and he had this issue, right, Steve?
Yeah, and it just kind of came up out of nowhere, and he just eventually stopped throwing over there altogether.
Which really makes you wonder why more teams don't bunt on this guy.
But it's funny because he seemed to, at one point last year, conquer that, and it stopped becoming as big an issue as it had been. He did make some progress with that, but boy, that was as ugly as it gets.
Well, it looks like in the present, Steve, it has reared its ugly head again.
That's a single in E1, so give David Peralta a base hit. He takes second on the error by John Lester.
Wait, that's a single?
Oh, yeah.
It was a shot up the middle,
Wow.
Gracie. Hard hit.
I'll tell you what, I want to play in today's game.
No kidding.
2-0. A.J. Pollock flying out to center his first time.
You know, talking about Lester and his issues holding base runners on first, when he had Grandpa David Ross behind the plate,
Yes.
Ross would back pick at first more often than Lester would ever throw over to first base. So even though guys would try to take a big lead and get a little farther off the bag, if you got too far off, David Ross was liable to pick you off. And we know Wilson Contreras loves to throw.
Oh, yeah.
He'll throw if you're standing on the bag. You know, those guys with good arms, they love to show them off, guys. They just can't help themselves. It's like myself. I couldn't wait to show off my speed, Bob.
Yeah, we're still.
Wait, you didn't have an automatic green light?
I remember Bob Brindley told me my first year that I played with him, not played with him, played for him. He was my manager. As that was ripped into left. Go ahead, Steve.
By Vossler at third. Back-to-back singles start off the Diamondback third against Lester.
See, it didn't take me long to just go right over the top of you, did it, Steve?
Oh, that's all right.
That's the folks at home. That's a big do not do, is talk through a play, and I just did. So anyway, talking about my speed, I remember Bob Brindley said, Gracie, if you raced a pregnant lady, you'd come in third. and that has stuck with me ever since.
Maybe we can set that up. We get a volunteer from our studio audience. You can race Gracie. You have to be at least 5 months along, though.
Could be a contest, you know.
They're on the corners. Nobody out for Goldie, who walked his first time up. D-backs lead at 1-0 on a Nick Ahmed homer.
Yeah, Goldie hit about a 500-foot foul homer down the left field line his first at bat. We were talking between innings. I take that as a good sign.
I agree.
We know Goldie is such a good opposite field hitter. His natural swing produces line drives to that gap in right center. But when teams try to come in on him, if there is a weakness in his swing, that's probably at that hard fastball inside. And to see him get to one and jerk pull it foul 500 feet, I take as a really good sign.
I agree with you, Bob. And you know, sluggers like Paul Goldschmidt, I think a lot of times, especially Paul, he likes to be considered a pure hitter, not just a slugger, and he is.
Boy, he hit a home run here Monday off a minor league lefty against Colorado, 3/4 of the way up the grass in left center.
Yeah, I was here for that one. It sucked the air right out of the stadium. Hats were flying off people as that ball left the infield.
Dave Magadan loves having Paul Goldschmidt. He said he makes me a very good hitting coach, Gracie.
Well, he's almost pulled a Goldie here, going from 0-2 to 3-2. It's even now.
And that's the other thing Goldie does so well. He's so disciplined at the plate. He'll take his walks. He didn't have to take too many when J.D. Martinez was behind him last year. But
that was fun, wasn't it?
He may see a few more intentional walks this year. Jake Lamb will have some pressure.
Called strike 3. Lester got him.
Oh, that was a beauty right there, wasn't it, Bob?
Yeah, it really was. Looked like a little cutter on that outside corner. It just starts off just off the plate and maybe got back to the corner, but really couldn't pull the trigger.
Gracie, here's a guy that seemed to take a big step forward last year, Jake Lamb.
Once again, Steve, I think you and I and Bob talked about it a few times last year. 2 years in a row now, quite possibly top 3 or 4 players in the entire game in the first half. And then in the second half, just a big struggle, unfortunately, for Jake. And you know, hopefully he's done something this year that can keep him stronger longer.
Yeah, last year 204 after the All-Star break for Jake Lamb, after he had gone to the All-Star game for the first time in his career. And that's a trend that we've seen, as you mentioned, 2 years in a row now.
Right. But boy, when he's going, he can carry a squad.
Well, Gracie, you were such a good left-handed hitter, and your game was to spray the ball all over the ballpark. As a hitter like Jake Lamb, pretty much dead pull, pretty much hit the ball in the air guy, how do you round your game out and maybe start to use the opposite field a little more?
Well, I think that's just something. I was a guy when I was a younger hitter. I didn't really learn to pull the ball with any authority, and probably until my third, fourth, even fifth year in the big leagues. I hit for average, and I hit 10 to 15 home runs, and I tried to be line to line, but really I didn't. If you hung me a breaking ball, or if you that's the ball I could pull and pull with authority, but I didn't really start to learn how to pull a fastball really until I was significantly into my career. And I think it's easier to be an opposite up the middle hitter and learn to pull the ball than maybe a pull hitter and learn to hit the other way. Wouldn't you think? You were a pull guy.
I would tend to agree with you. Yeah, earlier in my high school and college days, I used the whole field, but once I learned how to pull that fastball and a couple of them landed in the seats, that was it. I'm a dead pull hitter.
We're not going to worry about right field anymore.
Oh boy, John Lester comes back. 2 on, nobody out, strikes out Goldie and Lamb.
That was a pretty off-speed pitch there by Lester. Bottom dropped right out of it, and Jake Lamb right over the top of it.
Well, Madden's seen enough. He'll go to his bullpen as John Lester is now just over 50 pitches. So Lester will exit. We'll take a break from Scottsdale. D-backs lead the Cubs 1-0. Camarena has come on for the Cubbies. Joined Chicago on a minor league deal after 6 years in the Yankee farm system. Last season in the Yankee system, 22 appearances, a 3.65 ERA. He inherits a bit of a jam here. David Peralta's at third, A.J. Pollock at first. 2 outs in the batter is Yasmani Tomas.
Well, Bob, you've watched quite a bit. Steve, you watched quite a bit this spring. What do you think of Yasmani so far this spring?
Well, you know, he's 6 for 13 up there as he steps in right now. A couple of doubles. He had 3 hits yesterday over at Glendale. You never quite know. I mean, sometimes he takes swings just like that. Other times he hits a ball 430 feet.
I mean, we know what Yasmani's capable of doing. We saw him do it a couple of years ago, hit 31 home runs last year, an injury-plagued season. But I think you have to take spring training numbers with a grain of salt. A lot of pitchers aren't sharp with their breaking stuff yet. They haven't worked on their off-speed stuff as much as they will by the end of camp. And I think Yasmani many times just cherry picking fastballs in spring training, and you're going to get a lot of fastballs to hit, and he can hit a fastball.
He can do that. That's true.
Swing, I think, Gracie, that we just saw where the head comes flying up. Watch his head on this one.
Yeah, that one's, he's looking out at the scoreboard in left center field, and the ball's down in the dirt. But, you know, as his coach for a couple of years, you know, he had you scratching your head. He really did. You didn't know which Yasmani you were going to get that day.
I tell you what, if you shake hands with Yasmani Tomas, and he's unbelievably strong. The wrist, the forearms, you see right away where that power comes from. Just a little flick of the bat, and that ball is going when he connects.
Well, he's one of those guys too. If he gives you one of those playful bear hugs, yeah. you're in a straitjacket.
Uncle.
I mean, yeah, you're done.
Here's the 1-2.
I remember that home run he hit in Philadelphia a couple of years ago that disappeared into the night. You remember that one? Yeah. It went over the foul pole and over everything in left field, and just the ball just disappeared into the darkness. Yeah, it was one of the longest home runs that I've seen hitting that ballpark.
I think he had about 3 or 4 that series in Philadelphia. There's something about Philly he really likes, guys.
Cheesesteaks.
We'll be out there in center field soon enough.
Tony Lukes.
2-2. Yasmani Tomas, another swing and a miss. 3 straight strikeouts. D-backs strand 2. They lead at 1-0. For Taijuan Walker, it's just his second in the Cactus League. Mark Grace, 3 hitless innings. He had 4 strikeouts.
Taijuan is a guy I think that this is going to have to be the year that I think he really breaks out. He really emerges. When I was a coach in the minor leagues, guys, there was 2 pitchers that were pitching in Double-A at the time, and I said these are the best 2 minor league pitchers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Number 1 was this kid, or Taijuan Walker. The other one was Archie Bradley. Both of those guys were the best 2 pitchers minor league pitchers that I had seen. And really, he hasn't emerged yet. I thought this guy was going to be a 15, or Taijuan Walker was going to be a 15 win or more guy year in, year out. And I thought Archie would be the same way. Archie had a great year last year as a reliever, but he never really emerged as a starter either, did he?
It just seemed like he was never able to get his stuff, which obviously is plus stuff, as a starter to carry it through into the deeper parts of the ball game. It just seemed like he got maybe overexposed, showed too many pitches early in the game, and then they weren't as effective the second, third time through the order. But boy, has he found his niche down in that bullpen.
Well, here's our first look at a guy who could be a very big part of that bullpen this year. Our first televised look. Yoshihisa Hirano got a 2-year, $6 million contract in December and has a chance to be an absolute steal for the D-backs based on his experience and his track record as a closer in Japan. This is a guy that knows what he's doing out there. Hayward skies one near the line in third base. Lamb's got it one away. Hirano is a veteran of Japan's Pacific League. He will pitch all of this season at the age of 34. Turns 34 in a couple of days, in fact. 156 career saves in Japan, nearly all of those coming in the last 5 years.
So there's a lot of miles on that right arm of his.
He's got a very good fastball, and we're told a wicked split finger pitch. And that is his bread and butter. Here's Javier Baez. The comp that we always hear with Yoshi Hirano, Koji Uehara, who had a wicked split for the Red Sox and the Cubs.
You guys remember a fellow by the name of Hideo Nomo? That's the best split finger I ever saw in my life. He embarrassed me so many times with it. Ball's down in the dirt, Mike Piazza's blocking it, and I'm swinging chest-high fastballs.
It's a pitch that most of the Japanese pitchers seem to have.
I'll tell you what, that's back-to-back beauties right there to Baez.
One thing you notice about Hirano, he doesn't have a lot of unnecessary movement in his delivery.
True.
A lot of Asian pitchers come over to America and they've got dipsy-doos and double leg kicks and double arm pumps and all kinds of things going on. You mentioned Hideo Nomo. They called him the tornado out there on the mound. He twirled himself around before delivering the pitch. Hirano's pretty much standard delivery.
He's got a low to mid-90s fastball. The calling card is the split. Last year, 29 saves for the Oryx Buffaloes in Japan's Pacific League, a 2.67 ERA. There's a look at the
And you're right, Bob. That is kind of traditional.
1-2 on Javier Baez. Mike Hazen says the first thing that the D-backs liked about Yoshi was the stuff. The ability with a fastball and that split they think can play very well at the back end of this bullpen.
That's the thing about a lot of these guys from other countries. There's just such a learning curve. You don't know. You sign the guy and you've never seen him pitch. You just have video of him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there's a lot of unknown. You just kind of have to see him pitch in spring training and go from there.
Hard to third. Knocked down by Lamb. Sets and throws. Jake Lamb, a nice stop, 2 down.
Oh, that is a nice play, isn't it? Such an athlete over there. He struggled early in his career over there, but I think he's getting more. He got better last year, and I think he's going to be even better this year.
And good to see him come up and make a strong, accurate throw right there. There were times last season where Jake would make a great play, and then the throw would short hop over to Goldie or pull him off the bag occasionally. Good to see him come up and be right on target that time.
The catcher Wilson Contreras, a strikeout victim his first time in. We were speaking about Gracie about how the U.S. Major League's kind of uncharted waters for Yoshi Hirano at this point, certainly. But if there's one guy that could handle it, you would think it's him with all his experience, and that experience factor was something the Diamondbacks liked as well, with a pretty young bullpen.
Well, and we talked about it with Yasmani Tomas coming from Cuba. Here's another young man that doesn't speak the language, doesn't know anything about the culture over here. So it's not just the baseball that he's got to adjust to.
Center field for Pollock. 1, 2, 3 inning. Yoshihisa Hirano.
Easy innings will help you get adjusted.
Nice, isn't it? 1-0. Sports Support's proud to team up with Girls Inc., inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. A combination of lasting mentoring relationships, safe pro-girl environments, and research-based programming equip girls to lead healthy lives, break the cycle of poverty, and become leaders in their communities. Visit foxsportsupports.com to learn more. Beautiful day for baseball. D-backs and the Cubs. Steve Berthew, Mark Grace, Bob Brenly along the way. New pitcher for the Cubbies, the right-hander Justin Grimm, who's been with Chicago each of the last 5 years. Last season, 50 appearances, an ERA just over 5.5.
And you can see 27 walks in just 55 innings, Bob. That's a good way to give up runs in the big leagues, isn't it?
Yeah, putting some traffic on base, and then if you happen to give up one, the damage is even worse. Grimm's been a workhorse out of that Cubs bullpen over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Pitched in 73 ball games back in 2014.
Alex Avila, the catcher, leads it off for the D-backs. He grounded out his first time up.
Steve, what are your thoughts on the new catcher?
Well, I was very excited when I heard that we had signed him because I really like Gracie, the left-hand bat. And I think ground out to second base. Baez will take it. They lost the chance to re-sign Iannetta very early in the offseason, and the Diamondbacks didn't want to commit to that kind of money by trying to match it as Archie Bradley starts to warm up. They wanted to maintain some financial flexibility over the winter. And so I thought Avila, who got basically the same money that Iannetta ended up getting from Colorado, was a terrific signing. Left-hand power bat, 4 years younger than Chris, and a veteran catcher that can, you know, catch 100 games or so. So I think it's a great fit.
And Bob, I also think that the Diamondbacks like to rotate their catchers. So if he gets 100, I think that would be a lot.
Yeah, we saw that last year with the three-headed monster behind the plate, and somehow Torrey managed to keep everybody happy and sharp behind the dish, and I'm sure he'll do the same thing this year. That's a very obviously physically taxing position, and try to grind guys out there every day all season long. It's going to pay. It's going to cost you.
Daniel Descalso, D-backs figured to carry 3 catchers again this year. It might come down to a fight for a roster spot between Chris Herman and John Ryan Murphy, who are both out of minor league options for that 3rd catcher spot behind Avila and Jeff Mathis. Good to have Daniel Descalso back. Diamondbacks were quick to pick up the option year of his contract.
Well, he got a lot of big hits last year, didn't he?
Didn't he, though? Had a couple of walk-offs, a home run into the Chase Field pool that beat the Rockies in April. Remember that one? Homered in the wild card win over Colorado. Homered in the division series against the Dodgers as well. I think we were talking about Hirano's experience factor at the back end of a young bullpen. Gracie, I think you need guys like Avila and Descalso when you've got basically still a pretty young team here.
No question.
Don't you think?
Veteran leadership's got you know, it's so important. Yeah, it's nice to be young and talented, but it's kind of nice to be old and talented too. You know, guys that have you know, they've been, to use a cliche, they've been through the ringer, they've been through the wars. They understand that you're going to lose some games. You're going to have bad games, and those are the veteran guys that can go up to the young guys and say, "Hey, man, you know, trust me, I had lousy games too." And the great thing about baseball is we get to do it all again tomorrow. You got to have guys like that, pitchers and position players.
Pretty deep center field that backs up Almora. 2 outs.
I think Daniel Descalso himself was probably surprised how much playing time and how many at-bats he got last year. This is a guy that had kind of been a career utility player, mostly with St. Louis, you know, made his name over there as a bench player, and came over here to the Diamondbacks, and Tortorella fell in love with him. You know, just want to get him in there somewhere every day, somehow.
Well, he even played the outfield last year a handful of times.
Pitched a couple of times.
Yeah.
Nick Ahmed has been all the offense today. A solo homer for Nick, who's off to a terrific start this spring. 4 hits in 10 at-bats, a couple of doubles, and now a home run. This was Nick off John Lester with 2 outs in the 2nd.
That's a good backspin on that one. We don't have all of our technology set up here for spring training, but launch angle and exit velocity and all that good stuff. It was all there for Nick that at bat.
Whatever happened, if it means good, that happened.
Well, Nick has played in fewer than 150 games combined in the last 2 years with all his injuries. And this year he really wants to be on the field every single day.
Boy, can this kid play shortstop. Oh my goodness, can he play?
Well, while you were looking for a parking spot, I forced him to make an error earlier in the ball game.
He booted his first one, and it was Beebe's fault.
I spent 15 minutes in the booth next door telling Pat Hughes that Nick Ahmed might be the best defensive shortstop I've ever seen, and the first ball hit to him, he kicked.
Threw the Moa Chi-Chi right on it, didn't you?
Yeah, my bad.
That's all right. You know, honestly, when I was down in the dugout, it was if he even bobbled one, you thought he had the flu.
Well, he's of course coming off another tough year, as we mentioned, injury-wise. Last June, hit by that 99-mile-an-hour fastball from Trevor Rosenthal, fractured his right hand. And then he was rehabbing with AAA Reno at the end of August and was hit and broke his right wrist. So come on.
Buzzard luck.
That's yeah, that's not fair.
Played just over 50 games for the D-backs last year. Really want to see Nick have a full, healthy season.
Well, one thing Nick has always done offensively is he's always done pretty well against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, we were mentioning that after he homered against Lester. He hit nearly 400 versus lefties last year, and oftentimes Torrey would hit Nick second in the batting order against a left-hand starting pitcher.
It's always been, even as a minor leaguer, Nick struggled against right-handers, but left-handers, he's a pretty good weapon, even if you want to put him up in the two-hole area.
Rays off that one, and he's worked at full 3-2. Gracie, it's always great to get your take, because I mean, from your time in Hillsborough, you've seen a lot of these guys for years now, even when they were struggling in the lower minors.
Yeah, and then you also you spend spring trainings, and you also have instructional leagues. So, you know, I had a lot of these guys that are up here right now, like Jake Lamb, Brandon Drury, who was here last year, and Nick Ahmed is in there. David Peralta, all his minor leaguers.
Boy, it was odd. I turned on the game yesterday to see Brandon Drury in a Yankee uniform.
It's still interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I haven't seen the guy we got for him, Sosa.
Steven Souza Jr. made a terrific diving catch in right field yesterday over at Camelback against the Dodgers. Not in the lineup today.
But I know, you know, anybody can hit 30 balls out of the ballpark. You know, you're gonna
in Tampa.
And that's a big yard there too.
Which is,
ball goes nowhere.
Pitcher's Park. That's
pretty good. Pretty good at bat right there by Nick Ahmed. He battled Grimm to a walk.
Here's the DH, Jeff Mathis. Jeff had an embarrassing moment. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. He forgot to bring his jersey over to Camelback Ranch in Glendale for the game against the Dodgers, and spent the game wearing a jersey he borrowed from Ronnie Freeman.
Well, I never did that. I know Bob Brenly, as my manager, wished I would have forgot my jersey a few times.
So it caused some confusion over there yesterday at Camelback.
That's kind of puzzling. I mean, I've forgotten my belt before, you know,
maybe
or your stirrups. I left them in the locker, but uniform always made its way into the duffel bag.
I was going to say, that was kind of the first thing you packed.
Not a veteran move by Jeff.
No.
Jeff will be 35 years old by the time we get to April 1st, a veteran in his second season as a Diamondback. There goes Ahmed. Throw from his knees by Contreras is not in time. Nick Ahmed, the stolen base.
Well, Dave McKay's at it again, isn't he?
We got to just credit those to Dave McKay. Yeah.
When you get jumps like this, folks, that's Dave McKay, the base running guru for the Diamondbacks. He's the first base coach. There's Dave.
He is a wizard.
Saw some kind of a trigger with Justin Grimm, whether, like Bert said earlier, whether it's the elbow or the head or the neck or the knees or the feet, something that gives away when that pitcher's going home, and that's when the D-backs get the big jumps.
2-0 to Mathis's foul back. It's great to go up to Dave before a game, as we try to do every day, and say, how are we looking? And sometimes he'll give you that look, and he's got a little gleam in his eyes. We've got something on this guy.
And all it takes, he would even say too, we just need some base runners, guys.
Yeah.
Just if we can get some base runners, we're going to win this game. And sure enough, about 6 stolen bases later.
Well, he's got a new toy this year in Gerard Dyson. That'll be fun. Dyson's speed and Dave McKay's ability. That's a winning combination for the Diamondbacks. There's Gerard Dyson.
They've always said that you can't steal first, but I think if there was a way, Dave would figure it out.
I think you're right. Have you seen Dyson play yet? He just looks fast.
He does.
Yeah. Just in the past in Kansas City and last year with Seattle. But yeah, he just made his debut as DH the other day, coming off that hernia surgery last September. So they're being careful with Gerard Dyson.
I mean, not only is he fast, but he's stolen it like an 85% success rate in his career. That's pretty darn amazing.
So he's not just running just to run. He's
No,
running when he knows he can get there.
Yep.
That's what the D-backs have referred to as elite speed on the bases. 3 straight 3-2 counts now for Grimm. And that is ball 4. A chance for Peralta. Back-to-back 2-out walks.
And one thing to note there, you may have noticed Wilson Contreras coming out of the chute back there behind home plate. The Cubs had a pickoff play on at second base. We mentioned it earlier in the game. Contreras will throw often. And he was looking to pick Nick Ahmed off second base there, or rather Daniel Descalso, excuse me.
Well, Bob, your key to the game was let's score some runs. This is a chance here. Peralta 2 on a 2-out in a 1-0 game.
David's been swinging a good bat early in the spring.
Sure has. Came into this game 5 for 9. Had a couple of hits here Friday. He lined out to center his first time up and then had a single back to the mound his last time. Now you mentioned you can't steal first. I wonder if there was a hitter facing John Lester who just decided to take off. And Lester might spike it into the ground like he did earlier.
Yeah.
He would be the guy that you can steal first.
Would they make him go back? Can't you just go ahead and run? Lester would panic and throw it into the ground maybe. Food for thought perhaps. Yeah. 2-0 now. Grimm is really struggling with his control.
We saw that with his numbers. A lot of walks last year, and it's times like this that you got to make a pitcher pay.
Just upstairs, and it's 3-0. A.J. Pollock would be next.
Bob, Peralta was a guy for the last couple 3 years. He loves to swing 3-0.
Yeah, with the way that he can find the gaps, you want him swinging. Runners on the move. Contreras no throw, pitches a strike, a double steal.
It's hard to swing 3-0 when you got a whole lot of nonsense going on out in front of you like that.
And a pitcher that hasn't been throwing a lot of strikes anyway. I mean, try to be aggressive, but boy, that has to hurt Wilson Contreras to let 2 guys steal.
Oh my goodness. He wants to kill somebody right now.
Yes, he does.
Single can score 2 now. It's 3 balls and 1 strike on David Peralta. Right at the shortstop, Russell. So Grimm strands 2. We're through 4. It stays 1-0. Lead the Cubs 1-0. And you can commemorate Archie Bradley's wild card game triple with the Archie Bradley audio bobblehead. It's courtesy of Gila River Hotels and Casinos. Get yours Saturday, April 21st. The Diamondbacks and the Padres at Chase Field. Check out dbacks.com. And sure enough, they bring in the beard. Here is Archie Bradley, the 25-year-old right-hander. His first season working in relief last year, a tremendous success story. 63 appearances, a 1.73 ERA. That was a D-backs record for a reliever.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. What an outstanding season for Archie Bradley, but I think he brought even more than the numbers. He gave that bullpen an attitude.
No question.
I think it really the whole team.
And the whole stadium would get excited when Archie would come into the game.
It became a thing, and it was a lot of fun. And this is a guy that Torey Lovullo considers this entire team's emotional leader. I think that's a good way to put it. He brings out the emotion,
which is a little unusual.
A.J. Pollock, center field. Drift is over toward right center off the bat of Addison Russell.
Only because, Gracie, and you might agree or not, usually it's not a pitcher who you look to as your team leader. For obvious reasons, Archie Bradley might not pitch for a week, and starting pitchers pitch once every 5th day. Usually it's a position player that guys look to for leadership, but Archie's taken that role and run with it.
And I think more than anything, Archie is really the one guy of the 25 guys that are going to be on this team that very outgoing, very extroverted. I just used that word in a sentence.
Nice going.
Thank you so much.
That's a triple word score.
That's, extroverted, folks. But Paul Goldschmidt is obviously the offensive leader on the team, but he's a guy that keeps to himself. Jake Lamb's another guy that's the same way, and the best of friends, Archie Bradley and Jake Lamb. But Jake's not as comfortable with a camera and a microphone, and Archie, he loves it, and he's really good at it.
And somebody needs to be that guy, and Archie just thrives in that role, Gracie. I mean, the off season he had with the curtain of distraction at ASU and the banging a drum at a Phoenix Rising soccer game and basketball games at Grand Canyon and football. He was everywhere. The golf tournament, you saw him everywhere you looked all over the valley this winter.
He's like Larry Fitzgerald. He's just great for this community. He gets behind this community, and the Phoenix area and the state of Arizona is very lucky to have him.
On the ground to second to Scalzo from the outfield brass as they retire Efren Navarro. It's funny to think that at this time last year, you're talking about a guy in Archie Bradley who didn't even know if he would make the team.
And I remember talking to you guys on some post-game shows that, we didn't really know what Archie was going to do. And we'd say, he's out to try to make a name, to try to get a spot out there. Well, it didn't take him long to solidify that spot to get the ball to Fernando Rodney, did it?
I mean, they figured out, okay, well, let's put Archie in the bullpen. We could use some length back there. He's not going to be one of our 5 best starting pitchers because the previous year he'd had a losing record as a starting pitcher. And he started out the first 6 weeks of last year's regular season as the long man. He'd go 2 or 3 innings sometimes. And it wasn't really until almost the end of May where he settled in as kind of that 8th inning guy. And boy, it just took off from there.
He was devastating to the opponents.
0-2 on Albert Almora Jr.
And that's where he's matured as a pitcher too. 0-2 right there. Bounce the breaking ball. Don't necessarily have to throw that for a strike where the pitcher or the hitter can put a good swing on it. Bounce it, see if it'll change. Now that might set up this fastball right here. Come back with a breaking ball.
Another good location. You still have some pitches to play with in the at-bat. Try to throw another breaking ball down low in the zone. That one ended up in the dirt. See what he does here on the even count.
Torey Lovullo has said he would like to have a closer before his club leaves spring training. It might be Archie, it might be Hirano, it might be Boxberger. They have a number of candidates here. They're sort of going to see how this thing plays out over the course of the next month.
I'll tell you what, before Boxberger's injury, he was really, really good for Tampa.
Albert Almora Jr. drives one to deep center field. Just enough room for AJ out there. At the 4:10 mark, the 1-2-3-5 for Archie Bradley. Diamondbacks lead the Cubs 1-0. Fans Tuesday, spring training continues. It's the D-backs and the Angels. Coverage starts at 1 o'clock on Fox Sports Arizona. You can stream the game live on Fox Sports Go. Our friends at Fox Sports West will have that ball game for you, the Angels broadcast team. Next D-backs televised spring game Tuesday at 1 o'clock against Los Angeles.
For the Diamondbacks. Here in the fifth
Pitcher for the Cubs, the right-hander Shea Simmons, former Atlanta Brave and Seattle Mariner. His numbers in Seattle last year, only 9 games, and ERA over 7. This is a guy who has had a long history of elbow trouble. Tommy John surgery, missed all of the 2015 season. Last year had more elbow problems. A.J. Pollock leads off the D-backs 5th. They have out-hit the Cubs 3-zip. They lead it 1-0. Nick Ahmed solo homer in the 2nd. The only scoring so far. Nick having a hot spring at the plate.
Oh, by the way, Nick's home run left the bat at 106 miles an hour, went 415 feet with a 26-degree launch angle.
I thought you didn't have all your equipment hooked up there.
Well, my staff has a slide rule in the back of the booth here.
Oh, they were doing the ciphering?
Yeah, they were doing some ciphering.
Just do some gazintas and figure out what the launch angle was. Nice work by your staff.
Yeah,
good to see that.
Right on top of it.
They're in the midseason form already this spring.
I hadn't heard the term slide rule in a long time. Thanks for bringing back good memories right there.
Enjoyed geometry, did you, as a kid?
No, I didn't.
Hard to second. Baez makes a terrific stop from the outfield grass. Javier Baez. Well, he can pick it.
Oh, that's impressive because that ball was smoked. A.J. Pollock, he is just such a good player, A.J. Pollock, but Baez says not this time. That's a beautiful play.
One down for Goldie, who has walked and struck out today. 4 for 8 at the plate to start his spring. Well, it's funny, we didn't see much of Paul Goldschmidt last spring. He played only a dozen Cactus League games. He was busy with Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. He didn't get to play a whole lot, I noticed. Jim Leland gave most of the playing time at first base to Eric Hosmer, who's now in the National League West with the Padres.
How do you guys feel about the WBC? Do you like it or dislike it?
I like watching it. In terms of the day-to-day, it screws everything up.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It was fun to watch, especially with the Americans, the American team,
and some of
winning
the
it all.
other teams. You know, Team Puerto Rico, they had so much
yeah.
enthusiasm, and the games themselves are a lot of fun to watch, but it just kind of jams everything up.
Yeah, it's very disruptive toward prepping for the season.
True.
Which is obviously the most important thing for these guys. That's what they're getting paid for, to try to win a World Series. But I agree with Steve. I loved watching the games. It was a lot of fun. I just wish it was a time of the season you could do it when the players were still in baseball shape, but it didn't interrupt any of the regular or postseason.
Yeah, you could do it right at the end of the season, but then, you know, pitchers are tired and they've thrown too many innings, and you run into all kinds of issues there, as Goldie dunks one into right field for a single. There's no one good time, it seems, for that event, but when they get it going, it's a lot of fun.
And a tough day for Paul Goldschmidt. He had to play 5 innings today.
Stretched him out a little bit.
Coming in pinch run.
Bob, how much did you need to play in spring training in order to be ready to go for the regular season? How many at-bats did you feel like you needed?
You know, being a catcher, and everything's different for a catcher in
Right.
spring training. First of all, you don't get all the extra batting practice that everybody else does. But I never really put a number of at-bats. I always felt the most important thing was, when we break camp, do I know all those pitchers on my staff and what they're capable of doing?
Well, you said Wilson Contreras likes to show off that arm. Ray Fuentes took one step towards second base, held, and Contreras threw it through.
With a left-handed hitter at the plate, he wasn't aware that Ray had stopped, and if you don't know for sure, go ahead and let it go, and Contreras has no problems letting it go.
That was a really good throw.
That was.
It's a good thing Fuentes decided to stay put.
Oh, and they picked Fuentes off. Should have stayed put there.
Well, not a very good pinch running appearance there for Fuentes.
And when you're a pinch runner, this is a really bad thing.
Yeah, he was out.
He wasn't leaning or anything, slid to the back part of the bag like you're supposed to, just a little late getting back on his belly.
Quick feet there.
And a quick move by Shea Simmons.
Something to file away for later this season.
Base is empty. 2 outs now. 0-1 on Jake Lamb.
Well, you hate to get picked off at the middle of the order up. Hate to get picked off anytime,
but yeah, you're right.
Well, Jake Lamb had a grand slam here Friday against the Rockies, his first and only homer this spring so far. Just getting to that point where guys get more than 1 or 2 at bats a day, which is nice.
But Bob, I always felt like I needed about 55 to 70 at bats in order to
70, really? That many?
Yeah, I was up. Ryan Sandberg, you know, he needed about 15. Andre Dawson maybe 18. Sammy maybe 20. I needed about 70.
Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Were you a slow starter? How was April generally for you?
Well, you're a Boston guy. You know how cold April's can be.
Yeah.
Bob, you spent some time in the booth in Chicago. You know how cold April is in Chicago. But that's the weather affects Wrigley Field more than any other stadium in the major leagues, because the wind is such a factor there, and the field faces north, so a cold north wind blows straight in.
Yeah, it faces the lake.
Yes, so a cold north wind blows straight in, and I mean, you can't hit a 3-wood out of there in April and in May, but then a warm summer breeze in late June and July tends to blow out. So.
Well, called strike 3. Gracie, our Bob's staff quickly looked up. You were a .290 hitter in April for your career.
Well, a lot of ground balls got through the hole.
We're through 5. It's 1-0. Chris Jimenez, the DH, leads off the Chicago 6th. Seems like the plan with Archie is the same as it was last spring. Stretch him out a little bit, almost as if he were going to be a starting pitcher. This is up into that wind. It drops between Descalso and Tomas. I think Daniel gave way to Yasmani coming in from right field, and it just dropped in.
That ball was higher than any punt you'll ever see, so it really shouldn't fall, but you just watch Yasmani, he just gives up on it. He's assuming that Descalso is going to make the play. And with the wind blowing straight out, that ball's going to carry out. That's a play that, well, anybody will tell you Yasmani's got to make that catch.
And there goes the no-hitter.
Yeah, tough way to lose a no-no.
Yasmani's defense so far in the outfield this spring has left a little bit to be desired. Jason Vossler the third baseman. First time this spring, I think we've seen Yasmani in right field. In his defense, he spent most of his time in left field so far.
And in every ball player's defense in the Cactus League, Gracie, you can attest to this. Whew, tough sky. We do have a few clouds today, which helps a little bit, but when the sun is shining bright and the sky is blue, there's no depth perception. You don't know where that ball's going to end up.
Bob, I still tell the story of that morning workout down in Tucson. I mean, you can take it from there because you are the one that drew up that game plan that day. What a disaster.
Didn't you tell Glenn Sherlock, just keep doing it until somebody catches one?
Well, we had missed so. To back up a little bit, it was a pop-up priority drill. We had the entire team, pitchers included.
Jimenez takes off, and the throw from Avila is in time. Alex Avila from behind the plate.
Done right there.
Looks like a hit and run's on.
It looked like a broken hit and run when you have a backup catcher on base. It's probably a broken hit and run. I don't think that he was trying to straight steal that bag, but nice throw by Avila nonetheless. We were doing pop-up priority drills, and we set up a pitching machine at home plate so we could control where the pop-ups went. And you shoot one behind first base so that the second baseman, first baseman, and right fielder can work on their priorities out there. Same thing on the left side, all over the field, shooting pop-ups. Well, it was crystal clear blue skies, sun shining brightly, wind blowing like a hurricane, and we missed about 6 pop-ups in a row.
Oh yeah,
maybe more.
And I was one of the guys that missed a couple.
Ball strike 3.
Glenn Sherlock was feeding the machine, so I walked over and I said, listen, the next one they catch, that's it, we're done. This is embarrassing. Well, and he had to shoot 5 more before we caught one.
Well, and it got to the point, Steve, and Bob will tell you, like guys were starting to get angry at each other.
It was getting testy.
And pretty soon we were having to separate guys, because hey, you catch that one. No, you call for it. I mean, next thing you know, finally, thank goodness we hit one. And Matt Williams, he was, I think, the only guy that didn't drop one that day. So he caught him.
That's it.
And our skipper, Bob Bradley, says, get out of here.
Lunch break.
I'm sick of looking at you guys.
We're leaving on a win.
Oh, brother.
That seemed to be just a little bit of a communication issue between Descalso and Tomas out there. The wind is blowing out pretty well, as Bob mentioned earlier. Here's Ahmed from shortstop. And Archie Bradley is through 6. Diamondbacks lead the Cubs 1-0. Fans, the D-backs home opener at Chase Field is coming up Thursday, March 29th. The Rockies will be here. All fans will take home a rally towel courtesy of Leslie's Pool Supplies, and the opening day schedule magnet courtesy of Pepsi. Visit dbacks.com for all the details. Some changes for the Cubs. Here's the new pitcher, left-hander Kyle Ryan. And a couple of defensive changes behind him. Ryan signed a minor league contract with the Cubs, a spring training invite. He has pitched in each of the last 4 years with the Tigers. And his numbers last year, only 8 appearances, and ERA just under 8. As Manny Tomas leads off the D-backs 6th. Now, Gracie, you are back again this year to do Diamondbacks pre and post game shows on Fox Sports Arizona. Tell us what you guys have in store for the course of the year.
I'm looking forward to doing the same thing I did last year, and that's hopefully doing pre and post games with a lot of good news like we had last year. It's always fun to talk about good baseball on the post game show with Bob and yourself. And last year we got to do that a lot, especially at home. I'm doing 50 of the home games. Brandon Webb will be joining me as well, along with Todd Walsh and Jody Jackson. Peyton Longworth will be there as well. So looking forward to doing another year.
I tell you what, I watched a lot of the shows that you guys did. Well, the one that you did before the wild card game was tremendous. We had the set outside the ballpark at Chase Field, and that crowd behind you. What a great environment! What an atmosphere! I thought it really came across over the TV. You could see that place was really fired up.
They were going. I mean, they were going crazy. I've never seen Diamondback fans get that excited. But also, what an exciting game that was.
Wasn't it, though?
One of the best baseball games, one of the most entertaining baseball games I think I've ever seen.
It was. I was sitting in the press box. We had the day off, of course. Boy, it was nuts. It was just nuts. But you guys had the set out there by the Game 7 grill, pre and post. Tremendous job.
Those fans were loving life, and Yasmani Tomas looks at 4 wide ones. He'll stroll to first base.
Now, I understand we're going to continue that theme for the first homestand before, it's 119 degrees out there. You guys are going to be outside on the concourse in the plaza there for the first homestand.
That'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. The fans love it. We love it. It's fun to be amongst the crowd, especially everybody's excited about the upcoming year. The expectations are high this year, so it should be a lot of fun.
Here's Alex Avila for 2, couple of ground outs. It's always fun when you can do those shows from outside and you're in among the crowd. It just provides so much atmosphere, great environment.
Something that I haven't really noticed in the Cactus League before today, but the Diamondbacks coaching staff over there hiding behind the screens. As you know, in spring training in Florida and here in Arizona, the coaching staff and the manager usually sit outside the dugout so they can, talk freely about things that are going on out on the field without the players hearing it. But the downside is you're in the line of fire over there. Foul balls get over there in a hurry. So the Diamondbacks have a couple of screens on the third base side today.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I haven't either. I think it's pretty smart.
I agree.
Remember the Giants coach who was very seriously injured sitting out there. And of course the D-backs, like every major league team, will have extended netting in the big league parks. All 30 major league parks will extend that safety netting for the folks sitting behind the dugout.
Good way to keep your chicklets.
You can't have people leaving baseball games with just, potentially life-threatening injuries. So Avila drives one deep to center. Almora backs up the warning track, and he's got it just shy of the track for the first out. No hit ball by Alex Avila there. That'll bring up Daniel Descalso.
Former Tigers going against each other right there. They patted each other as they.
So it's you and Webby and Todd and Jody again this year.
Yes.
Pre and post. Now, when we televise the game against the Dodgers on March 16th, Webby will be joining us like you are today. What's it like to work with Webby? You guys don't work together a lot, but you're in conjunction.
What I like about it is, he can give the pitching perspective, and I can give the position player perspective, and I just think Brandon. For me, I think Brandon forgets just how stinking good he was.
Brother.
That's just not his personality, though.
But how good was he? I mean,
Ridiculous.
this guy was one of the best pitchers for about a 5 or 6 year run in the game, along with Tim Lincecum.
I know you and I, we were doing some shows from Zip Sports Grill during the postseason, during the division series, and Webby brought down the RV parked it outside the restaurant. We had like our own green room to watch the games. That was a great setup.
And Webby, if you're watching right now and listening, we want you to bring that all the time.
I think that's something that you should look into.
That's a nice little green room, isn't it?
It is not a bad ride.
Get up there.
Get through, and it rolls into center. Descalso trickles one through. Hazelbaker into second. 2 on, 1 out now.
See those instincts, Gracie. I know you were thinking the same thing. You got to talk to him sometimes. You got to help him through the infield.
Well, you get jammed. You get jammed right there. And like, oh my gosh.
Find a hole.
Please don't get it. Yes.
Just through.
Ildemaro Vargas will come in and pinch run for Descalso.
Well, we talked about it earlier, guys. Nick Ahmed going to step in right now against Ryan, the guy that loves to hit left-handed pitching. This would be a good time to get a couple insurance runs here.
Homered off the lefty John Lester in the second for the game's only run. Nick walked and stole 2 bases his last time up. Hazelbaker at second, Vargas at first. 1 out.
Getting back to Brandon Webb. Bob, you remember the very first game he ever pitched in the big leagues. That was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
At Shea Stadium, I mean, we really didn't know what to expect. We read the reports, you know, we'd seen a little bit of him, but man, oh man, he went out there on the mound, and I'm looking at Mel going, who is this guy? Why hasn't he been up here before this?
and he shut out a complete game shutout, a very good Mets team at the time.
Real good team.
Ahmed lifts one left field. Borges backing up. He's got room just shy of the wall out there. Everybody hustles back to the bags. That's allowed out number 2.
And his reward for that great outing was to get sent to the minor leagues between games of the doubleheader because Randy Johnson was coming off the disabled list to pitch game 2. We needed a roster spot, and I mean, at least it was a good flight back to the minor leagues after shutting out the Mets.
Needless to say, Randy came in, and so we swept that doubleheader.
Jeff Mathis, the DH. Gracie, did you ever forget to bring your jersey to a spring training game like Mathis did? That doesn't happen, right?
I'll tell you what. I don't even think I've ever heard of minor leaguers doing that. Let alone a grizzly old vet like Jeff Mathis.
It happens. Happened yesterday. Got the right one on today.
I'm sure his teammates weren't giving him the business about that either.
His teammates call him coach. He is so well respected by his teammates in that clubhouse. Jeff has struck out, walked, and stolen a base. D-backs have out hit the Cubs 5-1. They lead it 1-0.
Mathis got locked up there by a slider on the inside corner. Nick Ahmed hit about a 385-foot out right in front of him.
They hit it right to the notch out there in left center field. D-backs playing 19 spring training home games this year here at the best venue the sport has to offer. Also 3 games as the road team here at Salt River Fields, which they share with the Rockies, of course.
You know, Steve, when Bob and I were in our playing days, I think the first game of spring training might be about tomorrow, something like that.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It
like
seems
March
awfully
4th
early.
or 5th or something like that. What was it, February 23rd this year?
This is it's March 4th today. This is game number 11.
Man,
that's
a lot of spring training baseball.
Did you have imagined, Gracie, when you were playing facilities like the one we have here?
No. I played in old Hohokam down in Mesa for 13 years, and then of course down in Tucson for when the Diamondbacks were down there. And you know, I didn't know any better. I thought those were perfectly terrific facilities. You know, I was just happy to be in the major leagues. But oh man, they're compared to these are amazing. The Cubs place, you've been to the Cubs place.
Yeah, Sloan Park, it's beautiful.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Runners on the move. Mathis fouls that on.
You know, and a lot of people don't believe you when you tell them. Back in my playing days, it wasn't uncommon for people to show up 10 minutes before game time and buy a ticket behind the dugout. and there were plenty available.
Very true.
Spring training has really turned into a thing. I mean, stands are packed every day, and why not? But boy, back in the day when I was playing, it was very intimate gatherings.
You cannot find a seat out. There's no grass out there. You can't see any grass.
I mean,
it's so
think about it,
crowded
Steve.
here.
Bob played the majority of his career for a very popular team out here, the San Francisco Giants.
Sure.
In Scottsdale, and then I played for a very popular team in the Chicago Cubs. And like he said, even for the Cubs, you could show up 10 minutes before the game at Holcomb Park, get yourself a $3 or $4 ticket, and get you a nice good seat. And but now, I mean, they come from all over the country out to Arizona now, because there's so many teams out here now compared to when we played. And I mean, the Cactus League is such a moneymaker for not only the teams, but for the community. Like the local economy just gets such a boost out here for this month and a half, 2 months.
Bases loaded for Ramon Flores. He lifts the first one high in the air to left for Borges. And Ryan leaves him loaded. We are through 6. It stays 1-0 Diamondbacks. Scottsdale, Arizona. Boy, the Diamondbacks pitching guys has been terrific today. The Cubs still have only 1 hit. It started with 3 scoreless from Taijuan Walker. You saw Yoshi Hirano work a 1-2-3-4. 2 scoreless from Archie Bradley.
So far, so good. Braden Shipley taking over on the mound. You just want to take steps forward. Each time you go out there, whether it's a position player or a pitcher, try to be a little better than you were the last time out. If there's things you need to work on, now's the time to do it.
Well, here is Braden Shipley, 26-year-old right-hander, the Diamondbacks' first-round pick in the 2013 draft. And Gracie, really, with Braden, he's still kind of looking for his footing in the major leagues.
Yeah, he's a guy who was a first-round pick a few years ago, and another guy I had for years in the minor leagues. He was a shortstop at the University of Nevada, but a great athlete, and they signed him to be a pitcher, and a guy that can throw in the low to mid 90s, a very good curveball, a very good changeup, and it just at the major league level, it's still kind of evaded him a little bit. The dominating stuff that he hasn't really shown up in the big leagues yet on a consistent basis.
It was a difficult season at times with Braden last year. 10 appearances with the Diamondbacks, only 3 starts.
And a little bit too much of this, falling behind. You can have the greatest stuff in the world, Bob, but if you're 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, and a major league hitter knows you're coming with a fastball, it's going to get hit hard.
Even the best in the game, if you put them in 2-0, 3-1 situations and they're forced to throw a strike usually with a fastball, you're going to get whacked.
Yep.
You've got to be able to jump ahead in the count, throw something other than a fastball when you're behind in the count, and that's something Braden's working on.
Jason Hayward here.
Right there, a 3-1 fastball ripped. by Hayward. Trust me, Steve, Bob and I didn't do our damage 0-2 and 1 and 2. You know, we did our damage when the count was in our favor most of the time.
Full count now on Hayward. Javier Baez on deck for the Cubs. Perez, the new catcher, and Hayward looks at strike 3.
Boy, if you can get buckled by a changeup, that's exactly what happened right there.
And not only off speed, but had a lot of movement away from the left-handed hitting Hayward that time, just frozen.
That's always been his best pitch, the changeup for Braden Shipley. Javier Baez 0 for 2.
Nice job of starting your day. You fall behind 3-0, come back and get a strikeout. Nicely done by Braden Shipley.
That's the reverse Goldie.
It's true, isn't it? Baez never saw a pitch he didn't like to swing at.
Boy, he doesn't get cheated, does he?
He strikes out a whole bunch. And he's an exciting young player.
Now Bob was more of a power hitter than I was. Bob, I watched him swing hard plenty of times, but I don't think you can even swing this hard.
No. I mean, at times Baez looks like he's completely out of control.
That's because he is.
He is, but he gets that bat speed through the zone. It's just ridiculous. And when he does make contact, even toward the end of the batter, down by the handle a little bit, he swings so hard he gets some carry on that ball.
It's true, and he's a guy, Steve, that, you know, major league pitchers, they make mistakes, and this is a guy that just thrives off mistakes. If you make a mistake, hang a slider, hang a changeup, play, you know, throw a fastball down the middle, he's going to embarrass you with a titanic home run.
23 homers, 75 RBIs for Baez last year, both career highs, but add to the list another strikeout. And another good changeup from Braden Shipley.
Really good changeup. Bert, you hit it right on the head. That's been his best pitch throughout his career up to this point, and it looks really good here today.
Not only that, the location, knee-high outside corner, that's going to strike out anybody.
Wilson Contreras, the catcher, is 0 for 2. Braden Shipley is just one of these guys you root for. He's a terrific young man.
I'll tell you another thing, Steve. Are you a golfer at all?
I got too. It just became too much. He's a golfing nut.
You got too good?
Yeah, I had to retire.
No challenge.
And are you a golfer, Bob?
All the clubs were broken. It was time to quit.
Well, you want this guy Shipley to be your partner.
Yeah.
He loves it, man.
He can play.
Well, he pitched a solid 7th inning here. 2 strikeouts, a ground ball out, a 1-2-3 7th. That's 1-0 Diamondbacks. It's a talking stick. The D-backs have a 1-0 lead over the Cubs. Fans to stay connected and informed on daily D-backs coverage. Be sure to like and follow Fox Sports Arizona on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the whole thing. All the you kids with the social media.
I am not on social media.
No.
Are you? I'm sure you are. You're a
I bailed.
play-by-play guy.
I had
You gotta
enough
be on
of Twitter.
social
I bailed. I jumped out without a shoot.
Bert invented social media.
Yeah.
Yes, I am the king of all
What
that
about you,
stuff.
BB? Are you on a social media guy?
Not at all.
There's no way he would ever be, by the way. That's impossible.
And there's no way I would ever be. So
Michael
BB and I got that in common, that's for sure. I don't think I'd be able to deal with it.
It just takes up so much time.
Well,
I got to the point where I was like, why am I spending so much time doing this?
and so you just cold turkey quit it, huh?
I did. I blew it up.
Do they have rehab facilities for you?
He spent some time up in Wickenburg.
Yes.
This
I was
winter,
going to say.
Yeah. One day at a time.
But I would guarantee you, if my kids, if you took it from them cold turkey, they'd have to take a trip to Wickenburg, I think.
New pitcher for the Cubbies is the left-hander Michael Roth. Jack Reinheimer, who took over at third base for Jake Lamb, leads off the D-backs 7th. They've out-hit the Cubs 5-1. They lead it 1-0. Nick Ahmed solo homer in the second off John Lester, the only scoring today for either side.
I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to see some offense, crying out loud. Or we just have a speed-up game.
Reinheimer, a one hopper right to the shortstop. That's Chesney Young, who just checked into the ball game. Quickly one down for Roth. Yeah, the offense, Gracie, for whatever reason for the Diamondbacks, even with a pretty much a regular lineup like we had today, has been hard to come by.
And I think it's a little bit of a long off season. I just think sometimes in spring training, players can get in ruts, and you know you're getting up very early on a daily basis. I would guess that if you polled the Diamondbacks, hey, what time does the rooster crow at your house in the morning? Pretty much all of them would say probably sometime before 6.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. You play 162 games, almost all of them at night.
Right.
You're basically a night owl for 6 months. But in spring training, everybody's up with the sun.
That's exactly right. And you know, when I was doing the hitting coaching, I mean, us coaches we were in the cages. We were in the cages with these guys. As this one ripped right.
Ray Fuentes gives it a ride to deep right. Zagunis will watch it go.
Well, we asked for some offense.
You got it, Gracie. Nice work. To the home run for Ray Fuentes. And the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead.
Well, that makes up for getting picked off back in the 5th inning as a pinch runner for Paul Goldschmidt. Long home run to right field.
Forget about that one. Let's see a fastball middle, and Fuentes gets all of it. That's a long way. It's about halfway up the grass area. You can't see any grass because it's all folks out there. Long ball from Fuentes.
Maybe we'll see another one here from Kevin Crone.
Kevin Crone, another kid I had in Hillsboro.
I was going to ask you about him. This is a guy, Kevin Crone, 25 years old, and was Southern League MVP last year. 25 homers, 91 RBIs. And Bob was saying the other day when Kevin was DHing, this is what a DH is supposed to look like.
That's exactly right. He's a big boy. I played against his father for a long time in college and in the minor leagues. And then his father, Chris, became a minor league manager for many years. So he's the son of a coach, and he knows the game inside out. He is a very good hitter. He's a guy that you see how big he is. He's going to hit some home runs. It's just a matter of finding a spot for him. He's not a bad first baseman now. Now he's not Paul Goldschmidt in the field, but he's not a bad. You know, for a lot of guys see a big galoot like this and they think, oh, he's probably a lousy fielder. No, he's actually got some pretty good hands.
6'5", 245, Kevin Crone.
245?
Yeah. You're not buying it? Yeah.
I think he's a biscuit away from about 270.
Well, 3 years ago, Kevin hit 27 home runs at Class A Visalia, and then back-to-back seasons in Double-A with at least 25 home runs at Mobile and Jackson the last 2 years.
And I'm not saying he's fat. He's just a big boy.
He's a big one. Yeah, we talked to Kevin last year after his minor league season had ended. He visited us in the booth for a while. He was the Diamondbacks minor league player of the year last year.
And he's a guy that was, like most young hitters, he was susceptible to the slider and the breaking ball. But now here he is, a couple of years more of experience in the minor leagues, and he's learned to handle that pitch much better. And because of that, his batting average is soaring along with his home runs.
Bounces one to third. I mean, Court down there. Well, Gracie, we are told that you have to leave after this half inning so you can beat the traffic.
Yeah. Since I,
is that in your deal?
I was right in the middle of it coming here. Yeah.
You got that.
Yes,
you got that. We couldn't
deal.
get you a parking
Couldn't
space.
Get me a parking space,
but we get you out early.
Well, that's very kind of you guys to. I'll tell you what. I'm going to jinx you guys and just say, boy, this game is flying.
Oh, come on, man. Really?
Because this is my last
inning. He says on the way out the door, yeah.
Jeremy Hazelbaker.
Phil Rizzuto up here. Wasn't Rizzuto the one that used to always leave in the 7th or 8th inning to beat the traffic?
Beat the traffic on the bridge,
right? Get home to Cora there, White.
Hey, White.
Jeremy Hazelbaker takes one, and we'll get a look at Christopher Negron.
Now that's good work if you can get it. Just go ahead and leave in the 7th inning to beat traffic.
I've seen enough.
Holy cow. Negron took over at second base for Daniel Descalso. Chris is a guy who plays all over the field for Torey Lovullo. Infield, outfield, you name it.
See, with 2 outs, if Hazelbaker has very good speed, might try to get into scoring position here.
You know, Gracie, that's one thing that to me stood out about Jeremy Hazelbaker last spring. He's a really good base runner.
He's a very good. It's not only a fast base runner, but a good base runner.
And there's a difference, right?
And all the young kids at home, you don't have to be fast to be a good base runner. Now, Hazelbaker happens to be fast, but some of the best base runners. You know, like for instance, Albert Pujols is a great base runner.
Wow, good call.
Not fast.
And he's not fast, but he gets good jumps. He's one of those guys. I'm trying to think of another guy like for instance, Paul Goldschmidt.
I was going to say
he's not the
Goldie,
fastest guy in the world, but he is a terrific base runner and base stealer.
He is so precise when Goldie. He just gets the corner of the bag every time. Footwork is textbook, it seems like.
Well, Gracie, we both had experience with Don Zimmer. When Don Zimmer was a coach on the Giants staff under Roger Craig, he used to talk about fundamentals in spring training, and he said base running will win more games for you over the course of the season than any other fundamental. So with that in mind, Zim used to have a clinic, you know, a couple times a spring. He'd walk the players around the bases and talk about different things, getting a lead, getting a jump. And, you know, we'd like to think it helped us win a lot of games back in the 80s, but I tend to agree with him. Good base running teams tend to find ways to get guys on the plate.
Negron strikes out. They strand Hazelbaker, but the Diamondbacks get their second run today on their second home run. Ray Fuentes,
I enjoyed it, guys.
Solo shot. Gracie, maybe you can watch the end of the game from home.
So long.
Great to have you. 2-0 D-backs as we head to the 8th. Thanks to Mark Grace for stopping by. We'll enjoy Gracie all season long on Fox Sports Arizona's Diamondbacks pre- and post-game shows.
Gracie may be back. I have a feeling he double parked his car since he was running late, and it probably got towed.
There's a decent chance he forgot where he parked. This is blasted to left field. Alone Flores is there. Quickly one pitch, one out here in the 8th. So Lavello out to the mound. I think he wanted Braden Shipley to get an up down.
Yeah. Guys out of the bullpen that are likely to pitch multiple innings during the regular season. You try to simulate that, go back in the dugout, sit down, and go back out for another one batter of work.
Back after this. Veteran who will turn 37 years old in April, back for the Diamondbacks on a minor league deal this year. And what a season it was last year. 65 appearances. He was the best in baseball at stranding inherited base runners.
Yeah, and he was used accordingly once that fact was established early on in the season. Lavello used him as his go-to guy when there was traffic on the bases, bring him in the middle of the inning and escape damage.
Efren Navarro, the first baseman for the Cubs, 0 for 2. Cubs still with only one hit through 7 1/3. Much better run prevention today. After the Diamondbacks took a beating yesterday across town at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Dodgers beat them over there 14-6. Navarro lifts one in the air, pretty deep left field. Flores backing up. He's at the notch. He'll play it off the wall. A barehanded grab, and Navarro has a double. Just the second hit for the Cubs today.
Now, we mentioned the wind earlier in the ball game blowing out to right center. It's kind of turned around, blowing out to left center now. Might have given an assist to this drive to the gap in left field, just over the head of Flores out there. Plays it on a hop to hold Navarro to a double.
And we'll get a pinch runner out there. Albert Almora Jr. is the hitter, the center fielder. That is Yaziel Balaguer.
That's what I thought.
He said, hopefully. So Balaguer runs for Navarro. Here's Almora. Two balls and one strike. Mentioned Jorge De La Rosa last year. Out of the 33 runners he inherited, one scored all year long. The best mark by a big league pitcher since 1974. Talk about the need. We did this with Hirano earlier. It's just nice to have some veteran guys back there. You've got plenty of young guys. But as David McCullough once said, courage is having done it before, and you need guys like De La Rosa or Hirano back there in some of these big spots. Almora still looking for his first hit this spring. Albert Almora Jr. so far 0 for 12 on the year. Roller to Vargas at shortstop. 2 outs.
Yeah, seeing those Cubs uniforms on the field, I had a little flashback there, partner. I think I've told you this story in the past. In a spring training game over at Old Scottsdale Stadium before it was remodeled to the showplace it is now, and Jody Davis was catching for the Cubs. I was catching for the Giants. It was late in spring training. One of my last at bats of the ball game, I came up to the plate and I told Jody, hey, I'm at 298. One more base hit, I'll finish spring at 300. I'm going to drop a bunt. And Keith Moreland was playing third base at the time. I said, just make sure Zonk stays back. Don't let him creep in. So sure enough, Jody Davis threw the ball down to second base. We're ready to start the inning. I'm the leadoff hitter. And I looked down to third base, and Keith Moreland had crept in a couple of steps close to the edge of the grass because I was known to bunt once in a while. And Jody called timeout, stepped out in front of plate, said, back up, he ain't going to bunt. I dropped one down the third base line, stayed fair, got a base hit out of it. So he says I owe him one. I still owe him one to this day.
I think you do, actually, yeah.
Have to catch him next time we go to Atlanta. I think he lives in Georgia.
Well, it's always nice. You say, you know, back of the baseball card when you get that nice round number, 20 homers instead of 19, 300 instead of 298.
I think I probably went 0 for my next 15, though, to drop it down, you know, in mid-200 somewhere.
There's only so much Jody Davis can do.
That's right.
Well, the Cub fans used to have that song, that Jody Davis song back in the day. Chris Jimenez.
That was one of the oddest things that probably ever happened in All-Star game history in 1984. The National League took 4 catchers to the All-Star game. Gary Carter was voted in the National League, and Tony Pena from the Pirates, Jody Davis from the Cubs, and myself from the Giants all got picked as extras. So even in an All-Star game, you can't have enough catchers.
It's just common sense. So that is. Here's Ryan Court, the new third baseman, took over for Jason Bosler. His numbers for the Red Sox AAA club in Pawtucket last year. And another pinch running situation. Cubs have a number of guys here from minor league camp. Jacob Hanneman is the pinch runner down there.
You know, another thing about Jorge De La Rosa, the value to the Diamondbacks last year, he's not just a left-handed specialist. Because of his experience as a starting pitcher, because of his stuff, you can leave him in there to roll through a couple of right-handers to get to that next tough lefty.
Well, if there's anybody that knows how to pitch around guys and get the hitter in there he'd like to face, it's Jorge De La Rosa. Long-time starting pitcher. Last year his first full season as a reliever in more than a decade. He is still the Rockies' career leader in wins and strikeouts, Jorge De La Rosa. 200 starts in a Colorado uniform. Allegarrett at second, Hanneman at first. 2 is down the line, headed for the Cub bullpen. By the way, we'd like to thank Mark Grace for jinxing the nice quick spring training game. Way to go, Gracie. Stay hot. We were rolling along with a one-hit shutout until Gracie opened his big mouth. Your staff back there pointing that out. They're not happy.
They rarely are.
Well, I mean, when you're constantly under the scrutiny. It's funny, we were someplace this winter and a Diamondback fan walked up and said hello. He's like, how do I get on Bob Brenly's staff? He's like, I know baseball, I can do some stats. Does he have an opening? I don't know. It's not easy. I'm not sure you want the job, frankly. There's a lot of scrutiny. It's, it's like those old ancient Greece ships where there were like 50 guys underneath rowing.
And you have to be synchronized. You can't all be going off doing your own thing. I think we have budgetary concerns, however, on my staff.
Oh, some cutbacks this year?
Well, and some of the guys have asked for a raise. It baffles me, but
not sure that's in the budget. 0-2, Court lays off.
We didn't really get much of a chance to talk about it when Gracie was here, but you brought up the fact that 162 regular season games, the overwhelming majority of those are played at night under the lights, and spring training is almost exclusively played under the bright sunshine in Florida and Arizona. For years I've said that I think that last couple weeks of spring training you should try to mix in some more night games if possible. Ideally the last week play all night games.
Late February, first week of March, you want to be here when the sunshine, but toward the end of this month you could be out there at night, certainly. What a beautiful day to be here on a sunny Sunday in Scottsdale. Oh, there's Gracie. That's how Gracie's getting home.
I see. Yeah.
That's usually the way you make it out of here.
I'm close enough to Salt River Fields. I could walk home if I wasn't so lazy.
Gracie's like Nixon getting on that thing, the big peace sign. Takes off. Still 1-2 on Ryan Court. De La Rosa trying to get out of the eighth. Speaking of night games, Diamondbacks have, I believe, their first one tomorrow night, where it'll be over in Peoria to take on the Padres. Matt Cook gets the start for the Diamondbacks tomorrow night, a 6:40 start at Peoria. Dinelson Lamet, that hard thrower, goes for San Diego. I wonder if Don and Mudd are working that game. Last two games of the spring are always at Chase Field to get that ballpark up and ready and running. So we do play a couple of night games down there at Chase to end the season. Actually, the only one of them is a night game, 6:40 and 12:40. He didn't go. I'm told by your staff that Don Orsillo and Mark Grant will be working that game tomorrow for Padres.
Really?
You have to take a drive over to Peoria, give them a hard time. 2 outs, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Balaguer, the runner at second, Hanneman at first. He'll be off of the pitch here from Jorge De La Rosa. There they go, swing and a miss. De La Rosa strands 2, bottom 8 on the way. It's still 2-0 D-backs. Baseball brought to you in part by White Claw Hard Seltzer, the purest hard seltzer in the world. Good day 4-2 out there on the burn. Couple of changes for the Cubbies. Right-hander Craig Brooks, a non-roster invitee to spring training this year, is on the mound for the Cubs. 7th-round pick in 2015. There's a look at Craig Brooks, the 7th pitcher used today by Joe Madden. Chesney Young will take over at shortstop. Yasiel Balaguer is the new first baseman. Ian Rice is behind the plate. And Charcer Burks is in center field. There's Ildemaro Vargas. Ildemaro Vargas. There goes Jorge De La Rosa. His work is done. Vargas played all of last year, nearly all of last year, with AAA Reno. Switch hitter. 312 at Reno last year. 10 homers. Ildemaro Vargas, much like David Peralta, discovered by Diamondback scout extraordinaire Chris Carbonucci, playing independent league ball. Vargas was with the Bridgeport Bluefish in the Atlantic League in 2015 when Chris Carbonucci signed it. There's the strikeout for Craig Brooks, 1 down.
That high four-seam fastball plays any time of year in a 2-strike count.
Jake Buchanan, the right-hander, warming up down in the Diamondback bullpen. Looks like he'll get the 9th inning. Michael Perez, the catcher, 5th-round pick by the Diamondbacks in the 2011 draft. Good year last year at AA Jackson. This is an interesting guy, Michael Perez, left-hand batter, 25-year-old catcher. Just over 80 games in the minors last year, almost all of them at AA. Hit 284, 6 home runs. A couple of home runs this spring, in fact. D-backs, as we mentioned, night game tomorrow at Peoria. They'll take on the Padres. And it's back here Tuesday afternoon for a game against the Angels at Salt River Field. You can see that game on Fox Sports Arizona. We'll carry the Angels feed for you. And then road games Thursday and Friday. Got a day off Wednesday. Thursday at Maryvale to take on the Brewers. Friday up in Surprise against the Royals. And then Kansas City is back here Saturday afternoon. Terry Smith and Jose Mota, as they always do. We'll have to call for you on that Angels telecast Tuesday. Those guys do every game. Big swing and miss by Perez. Count is 4-3-2.
Jose Mota will always have a soft spot in my heart. When my son Michael was just a young man, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years old, Jose Mota met him at a spring training game, and the next time I saw Jose, he gave me an infielder's glove, which, as we know, are considerably smaller than most gloves, and it was a perfect fit for my young Michael Brenly, and had Jose Mota written on the thumb of the glove and everything. It was probably one he didn't like, but you know, the thought was there, the gesture was there, and
he is one of the great gentlemen in this game.
He really is, and Michael wore that glove out.
3-2 on Michael Perez. Cesar Puello on deck. It's a rocket that catches Dave McKay right in the leg at first. Maybe on the inside of the foot. Dave getting a round of applause.
Ball got down there in a hurry. I mean, Dave McKay, this is not his first game coaching first base.
No.
And you can see he's well behind the coach's box to try to give himself as much time as possible, but that ball was just hit so hard and hooking right at him, he couldn't get out of the way.
Seems like sometimes the ball just chases you. Good take there by Perez, a 1-out walk. Seventh walk drawn by Diamondback hitters here this afternoon. Cesar Puello signed as a free agent with the Diamondbacks in January. 17 games last year with both the Angels and the Rays, but had a big year in the Pacific Coast League last season. Puello, AAA last year, hit almost .330 with 13 homers. He is from the Dominican Republic, originally signed by the Mets. Since then, he's been with the Yankees, the Rangers. Last year, both Anaheim and Tampa Bay. Takes a big home run hack at that one. It's 0-2. Puello's a big guy, 6'2", 220.
He was geared fastball that time and instead got the slider low and away from Brooks. A healthy swing at that ball.
Oh, 0-2. Puello has played parts of 10 years in the minor leagues. 26 years old. He'll be 27 next month. A career .287 minor league hitter, nearly 200 career stolen bases to go along with some of that power. He's a guy who plays winter ball just about every year as well.
Yeah, the speed is a little surprising. I mean, you see him in that batter's box, big, strong dude. Home runs are not a surprise, but his ability to steal bases once he gets on, that is a little bit of a surprise.
Allen gets behind Rice off the glove, and Perez advances. Ian Rice back there.
Just a zoom ball, took off on Rice. Four-seam fastball, ran up and in all the way to the backstop that time.
So Perez now in scoring position. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Cesar Puello. Aims at another one. Rice will complete the strikeout. Second strikeout for Brooks.
Now, once he took that big swing at the 0-1 slider, just a steady diet of breaking balls low and away the rest of the at bat. Finally chases one in the dirt for strike 3.
No chance for a 2-out RBI from Ramon Flores. Former Angel, played 3 games for the Angels last year. Only had 8 big league at bats. Flores spent most of last season at AAA Salt Lake City. Hit .312 there. Ramon Flores signed with the Yankees as a 17-year-old out of Venezuela. Already parts of 9 seasons in the minor leagues. Another guy that likes to play a lot of winter ball back home. Fastballs will strike, 1-1.
You find a lot of guys that have spent a lot of time in the minor leagues and they hail from Venezuela or the Dominican or Puerto Rico. Winter ball is a way to augment your salary.
Get the voice of experience?
Yes, indeed.
Both from the outfield grass at second, low throw. Alligator makes a nice scoop, and they get the out. We'll head to the ninth. Diamondbacks lead the Cubs 2-0. And none more so than the starter Taijuan Walker. 3 no-hit innings. Taijuan had 4 strikeouts. Yoshi Hirano, Archie Bradley, Braden Shipley all looked very good. In the bullpen, all the scoring on a couple of solo homers, one by Nick Ahmed and the other by Ray Fuentes. And now we start the 9th inning. And here's a look at the right-hander Jake Buchanan, the new pitcher for the Diamondbacks. Peter Borges leads off the Chicago 9th. Jake Buchanan, 28-year-old righty. Very limited major league action over a 4-year career. Last season, 5 games with the Reds, an 8.16 ERA. Worked over, or just over 14 innings. Buchanan has played for 3 different teams the last 3 years: the Astros, the Cubs, and the Reds. Borges today 0 for 2. Buchanan looking good there. Rings up Borges, 1 down.
Perfect spot for that 2-strike slider. Started it on the outer third of the plate. Ended up just off the outside corner, but they got the call from Ryan Blaney behind the plate.
Mark Zagunis took over in right field for Jason Hayward. His first at bat, 0 for 14 in a handful of games for the Cubs last year. 3rd-round pick out of Virginia Tech 4 years ago. Buchanan's only big league action last year, as we mentioned, 5 relief appearances with Cincinnati. 24 hits allowed in fewer than 15 innings before the Reds waived him last May. Diamondbacks scooped him up, signed him as a free agent last July, and a guy that had struggled in the bullpen in the big leagues was 5-0 in 11 starts last year with AAA Reno. So he's got something the Diamondbacks like. 6 foot, 235 pounds. There's a strike. Buchanan moved around a lot last year. He made AAA starts for 3 different organizations. He pitched at Louisville, pitched at Iowa, and then in Reno. This is bounced to third for Reinheimer. 2 down. as Young, the shortstop, last man standing for the Cubs.
You look at this Cubs roster and you know they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, not only in their division but probably into the postseason. But we saw the Brewers last Thursday and they've made some serious improvements to that roster, and they feel like they're a team that can compete in the Central Division this year.
You know, it's interesting, Bob. Last year the Cubs won 92 games and they won the division 6 games up on Milwaukee. I think you can make a case that the Brewers may have picked up those 6 games with some of the moves they made. Still might be an arm short with Jimmy Nelson hurt, but we'll see.
Yep. I think Brewer fans would just be happy if they were competitive enough that more Brewer fans were in Miller Park than Cub fans when they play.
Proximity of Cub fans always mean a lot of them will show up, and that was the case here today. We had a big crowd, 13,782, and they see a 2-0. A win for Torey Lovullo's Diamondbacks.
Solid pitching, solid defense behind that good pitching. And we mentioned at the top of the show, the team's had trouble scoring runs lately. If you're having trouble scoring runs, it's time for the pitching and the defense to step up, as they did today.
Certainly did. Taijuan Walker, 3 no-hit innings with 4 strikeouts. Serrano, Bradley, Shipley all look very good in the bullpen. Jorge De La Rosa strained at 2, and Buchanan works a 1-2-3 ninth to close it out. Pitching was the story here today. All the offense for the Diamondbacks coming on solo homers. Nick Ahmed in the 2nd and Ray Fuentes in the 7th inning. Diamondbacks now 4-7 in Cactus League play this year. Next Diamondbacks TV game.